Have you ever had a dream so vivid, so real, that when you woke up you felt like something or someone was trying to tell you something? Maybe you can't explain why, but that dream stuck in your memory, as if it carried a deeper, almost divine meaning. What if I told you that, in many cases, this isn't just a coincidence, that maybe it was your guardian angel trying to communicate with you while you were sleeping? Yes, angels do talk, and often, they choose dreams as a channel to send us messages, warnings, and even interventions that can completely change the course of our lives. Within spirituality, there is a subtle and powerful truth. Dreams can be divine signs, messages from a higher plane, and it is not uncommon to find reports of people who were saved from real danger because they heard what their angels said during the night, even without realizing that it was a celestial intervention. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever felt as if an invisible force was trying to protect you, warn you, or guide you through dream images that seemed more than just a figment of your imagination? Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to discover now may surprise you. There is an ancient wisdom that says that when we sleep, our soul frees itself from the bonds of the physical body and connects with other dimensions. It is in this space between the visible and the invisible that angels find an open door. They approach us carefully, whisper gently, use symbols, metaphors, and striking scenes to touch us and often save us. But we are not always able to understand it right away. After all, how can we distinguish a common dream from an angelic message? How can we know if that warning was real or just a figment of our imagination? And most importantly, what exactly is your angel trying to tell you? You may never have thought about it from this angle, but many of the divine signs that we seek so fervently throughout the day were already there, hidden in our own dreams. They are recurring images, intense sensations, feelings of peace or urgency that appear and disappear while we sleep, and that, when ignored, can mean missed opportunities, wrong decisions, or even dangers that could have been avoided. That is why understanding the signs of angels in dreams is much more than a spiritual curiosity. It is an act of protection, of deep connection with the sacred and with your own essence. The spiritual universe is in constant movement, and angels never stop acting. They are all around us, even when we don't see them, even when we don't feel them. But during sleep, when the noise of the world falls silent and the mind becomes quiet, they find the ideal moment to act. And they do act. Often silently, other times intensely. But are you listening? Are you paying attention? Or are you letting these messages slip by without paying due attention? What follows will help you understand how angels choose to manifest themselves in your dreams, and what are the most common signs that you may be ignoring. Get ready to see your dreams with different eyes. And as we walk through this delicate and meaningful universe, I need to tell you something. Your presence here makes all the difference. When you share in the comments what you felt, experienced, or realized when listening to this message, you not only strengthen your own spiritual connection, but you also inspire others who are going through something similar. So, if this topic resonates with you, leave here in the comments what touched you the most. If you've ever had a dream that seemed more real than any other, rest assured, your experience could open the eyes of someone who needs exactly that answer. And if you're here so far, it's because something inside you recognizes that this type of content is important. So, like this video, because it helps this message reach more people who, like you, feel that there is something greater at work, even in the quietest hours of life. And if you feel like this journey is just beginning, subscribe to the channel. This is where we will continue exploring together the mysteries of the spiritual world, the signs that God and His angels send us, and the ways to be increasingly attentive to these divine manifestations. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and continue its mission to spread light, awaken hearts, and welcome souls who often just need a sign. And speaking of signs, many people believe that dreams are just disconnected fragments of our mind, reflections of thoughts, memories, and everyday concerns. But when you look deeper, with the attentive gaze of spirituality, you begin to perceive something that goes beyond logic and traditional psychology. Dreams are portals. A space where time does not have the same shape, where physical laws bend, and where the invisible world reveals itself, even if in a subtle way. It is in this ethereal setting that angels move freely, bringing messages, warnings, and interventions that we cannot always interpret at first glance. The hidden truth behind these moments is that while the body sleeps, the soul awakens to other planes, and it is in this state of openness where the noises of routine do not reach, that the angels find the perfect opportunity to approach. They do not need to knock on the door or wave with grand gestures. Often, all they do is plant an image, a strong feeling, a luminous presence that you feel but cannot explain. The sensation remains, even after waking up. And the question that remains is, why did that affect you so much? Some people report dreams of mysterious symbols, such as glowing wings, bridges over chasms, paths that divide, or figures that appear human but radiate an unusual peace and steadfastness. Others have more intense experiences. They dream of accidents that they avoid the next day, of people who say enigmatic phrases, and, sometime later, everything makes sense. These are dreams that don't just touch, they transform. They create such a profound impact that they change decisions, attitudes, even the direction of an entire life. Behind the scenes of the spiritual world, these encounters are not random. Each intervention has a purpose. Sometimes, the purpose is to prevent an imminent evil. Other times, it is to prepare the heart for a loss or for a new phase of the personal journey. But the curious thing is that even with all this depth, many ignore these manifestations. They think it was just a strange dream and move on without realizing that they have just received a sign, a silent guidance, an invisible care. It's as if the spiritual world were always in motion, observing, intervening gently, without invading, because free will needs to be respected. The choice to listen, to perceive, to pay attention, it will always be yours. But when you decide to listen, when you start taking your dreams seriously, something inside you changes. Your mindset expands. You start to see life's situations with different eyes. Small details gain meaning. Coincidences start to seem like synchronicities, and your connection with the invisible is strengthened. Often, it all starts with a simple sensation upon waking, a shiver, a sense of urgency, an unexplained tear. These are traces left by something greater, a reminder that you are not alone, that there is constant care, even in the darkest moments. And it is in this care that angels specialize. They operate behind the scenes of existence, discreet but present. They guide us without shouting. They push us without forcing. They are always there, waiting for the gap of a dream to manifest themselves. Maybe you never thought that strange dream you had when you were 12. The one about the dark road and the voice telling you to go back was an angel. Maybe you've forgotten, but spirituality doesn't forget. Everything that is sent has a time and a reason. And understanding this is the beginning of a new way of living. Because when you start seeing dreams as spiritual messages, you stop treating sleep as just rest and start treating it as a sacred space. And that's why this topic is so important. It's not just about curiosity or mysticism. It's about spiritual survival. It's about knowing how to listen before it's too late. It's about learning to decipher what the unseen is trying to communicate. Sometimes, what's at stake is more than a decision. It's your purpose. And the angels know this. Because understanding how these signs manifest is essential so that you can recognize them when they happen again. But first, right here in the comments, that makes sense to me. I want to know who is on this journey of spiritual awakening. It's curious how, during the day, we are surrounded by stimuli all the time. Thoughts run wild, responsibilities pile up, notifications keep coming in. And, in this whirlwind, our spiritual sensitivity is almost always muffled. It's as if the noise of life leaves no room for something more subtle, like the presence of an angel to be perceived clearly. But when night falls and the world goes silent, something different happens. The body rests, but the soul expands. The mind, previously agitated, enters a more receptive state, where invisible doors open, more eyes, and it is at this exact point in the sleep journey that angels find a gap to communicate. They don't need words, megaphones, or dramatic appearances. They act lightly, with precision, with love. They use symbolic images, strong feelings, scenes, that touch something inside us that we didn't even know was there. And, in this dream world, what seems absurd during the day takes on meaning. A dream about a deserted road can be the reflection of a solitary decision. An encounter with someone who has already left can be a spiritual visit. A voice saying, "Don't go" can be, yes, a direct intervention, a divine care that, in the light of day, we would never have noticed. It is important to understand that angels know exactly when and how to act. They respect each soul's time. They do not impose or force. They wait for the right moment, and that moment almost always happens when we are asleep, without the barriers of the ego, without the rational fear that so often distances us from faith, without the filter of doubt that weakens our inner listening. When we sleep, we stop controlling, and it is precisely then that spirituality can act with greater freedom. And, as simple as this may seem, there is a profound truth in this mechanism. The dream becomes a sacred space, a territory of revelations, where subtle realities can finally be perceived. And often, the message that arrives in this state is not just about something in the present. It can be a warning about the future, a course correction, a delayed answer that you asked 4 months ago and that you have only now been able to hear. This is why dreams, from this spiritual perspective, should not be treated as meaningless episodes. They are often the language chosen by beings who want to protect us, but who can only act when our soul is willing to listen. And this is where a change of mindset comes in. From the moment you recognize that you are not alone while you sleep, that there are beings of light watching your path even in the most silent scenes of your existence, everything changes. The way you go to bed changes. The way you wake up, your attention to detail, the way you view your own life. Because you understand that spirituality does not sleep. It just waits for your inner awakening to manifest itself with greater clarity. This shift in perception is subtle but powerful. It takes you out of autopilot mode and puts you in a state of presence even when you're asleep, and the angels know this. That's why they speak to you at these times. That's why they appear discreetly but accurately. Because there, in that stillness of night, you are finally free from the distractions that keep you from yourself. And when you are truly with yourself, you are closer to the divine two. And contrary to what many people think, this is not a privilege for a select few. It is not a gift reserved for special people. Anyone who is willing to open the eyes of their soul can receive this type of contact. All they need to do is be attentive, sensitive, and available. Because angels do not choose the purest or the holiest, they choose those who are ready, and spiritual readiness often begins with a simple act. Listening to what the silence of the night wants to say. Maybe you've felt this before. A dream that seemed more intense, brighter, more real than any conversation you had during the day, a detail that woke you up with your heart racing, a presence you didn't see, but felt as if it were there, and maybe it really was. An angel, a warning, a sign, the language of the invisible touching the visible and transforming your trajectory, without you even realizing it right away. This is one of the greatest revelations we can have along the spiritual journey, that we are not a dream. Even when we think we are alone, there are presences that walk beside us. Presences that watch over us, that welcome us, that support us behind the scenes. Presences that do not need to appear with trumpets and lights to prove that they exist. They act with simplicity and depth. And dreams are just one of the ways they use to reveal themselves. Write in the comments, I'm on this journey too, if you feel that, in some way, this topic speaks directly to you. Because what we are going to explore from now on can open your perception about all of this even further. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Because there are certain details in dreams that, when observed carefully, reveal much more than they seem at first glance. These details are like little spiritual keys that, once recognized, open doors to a completely new understanding of reality. And the most fascinating thing is that many of these manifestations are not accidental. They are repeated in stories of different people, from different places, different cultures, but who report similar experiences. There is a silent, almost invisible, but constant pattern that points to something bigger at work. One of the most common, and perhaps most striking, signs is the feeling of intense peace that takes over the body during a dream. It is not just any peace. It is something that goes beyond human understanding, a profound tranquility that invades every part of the being, as if, for a brief moment, all fear, all anxiety, all doubt, simply ceased to exist. Many people report waking up crying with emotion after this type of dream, without understanding exactly why. And it is not uncommon to hear reports of people waking up with a light heart, as if they had been embraced by something invisible, but real. This sensation, so rare in everyday life, is one of the most powerful signs that there hath been an angelic visit. Another sign that appears frequently is the presence of light. It can be a soft, golden light that envelops everything around it, or an intense brightness that comes from a figure that never shows itself clearly, but conveys authority and love at the same time. Light, in this context, is not just illumination, it is language. It communicates things that words cannot. And often, it appears when the angel is approaching, when an important decision needs to be made, or when the dream is about to convey a hidden truth. In other cases, angels manifest themselves through soft voices, almost whispering, calling the person's name. Sometimes, it's just a word. Other times, a brief phrase, but one that echoes strongly in the soul. Something like, don't go that way, come back, it's this way, or even, wake up. These are words that remain engraved in the memory even after waking up, and this is rare, because we normally forget dreams within a few minutes. But when it's a sign, it remains. It insists. It wants to be remembered. There are also therapeutic symbols, as basic feathers, doors that open, bridges that arise, animals with unusual behaviors, or storms that suddenly cease. Each of these elements carries a deep meaning. For example, wings do not appear only as a reference to the classic angel. They symbolize freedom, protection, spiritual movement. A floating feather can represent lightness, but also divine presence. Doors opening symbolize spiritual opportunities, choices that need to be made. And what about the storm that suddenly ceases? It is the representation of internal conflict, being calmed by a greater, silent, but transformative intervention. These images are not random. They are spiritual codes. And the more you open yourself to perceiving them, the clearer everything becomes. It is as if dreams begin to gain another layer of meaning, as if they cease to be isolated scenes and become organized messages, constructed with the intention of guiding you, protecting you, transforming you, because that is what it is all about. Deep down, transformation. The work of angels in dreams is not just symbolic. It has a direct impact on the way you see life, how you make decisions, how you face the unknown. The big turning point happens when you decide to stop treating these dreams as mere fantasy and start seeing them as part of a sacred language, a communication between the visible and the invisible. between what you think is real and what actually sustains you inside, and this communication is always active. The question is, are you listening? It may seem subtle, but choosing to pay attention is already a sign of spiritual maturity. It's a new mindset that's taking hold. You begin to realize that dreams may contain answers you've been searching for a long time, or warnings that, if ignored, could lead to difficult consequences. And the angels know this. They know your rhythm, your fears, your silences. They know when to speak and when to simply envelop you in peace. They know that sometimes all it takes is a single detail, a spark, a feeling, a phrase, to change everything. When you begin to recognize and honor these signs, your relationship with the unseen world deepens. Trust is established. And even if you don't always understand the message right away, your spirit becomes more sensitive, more receptive, more aware that what happens in your dreams is an extension of what's going on inside your soul, and that by connecting with it, you also connect with your higher purpose. Comment here. That makes sense to me. If any of these manifestations have already appeared in your dreams, because what we are going to explore now may reveal even more signs that you may never have noticed. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because, as symbolic as these manifestations may seem, there are real and touching stories of ordinary people who were saved by something that seemed, at first glance, just a strange dream, but which later turned out to be a true turning point. And it is in these stories, often simple, that we realize the grandeur of what is at stake. These are not legends. They are not forced coincidences. They are experiences lived by those who never imagined being supported by something so subtle and, at the same time, so powerful. One such story happened to Anna, a woman in her 30s, a mother of 2 children, who led a busy life, like so many others. At the time, she was about to take a road trip to visit her mother in the countryside. Everything was ready, suitcases in the trunk, excited children, plans made. But the night before the trip, she had a very specific dream. She dreamed that she was driving on a deserted road at night, when suddenly, the car's headlights failed. She lost control and there was a loud sound, like a dull impact. In the dream, she saw no blood, no pain, but there was an oppressive feeling that something terrible had happened. And a gentle presence, without a face, just a very white light, calmly said, "Wait one more day." She woke up scared. The dream was so vivid that she spent the whole morning with the scene in her head. She wasn't the kind of person who took these things seriously, but there was something there that couldn't be ignored. The curious thing is that, for a simple reason, a delay with the plumber at home, she decided to postpone the trip until the next day. And it was exactly that afternoon, at the time she was going to pass a certain stretch of the road, that a landslide occurred, completely blocking the area. According to the news, 2 cars were hit. When she saw the image of the road in the newspaper, her whole body shivered. She recognized the place. It was exactly like the scene from her dream, even the angle of the curve. It was then that she realized that it hadn't just been a daydream. It was a warning. It was a warning. And even without having seen wings or heard the name angel, she understood. Someone protected her. And this is something we see more often than we imagine. There are people who say they dreamed about someone asking them to go to the doctor, even without any apparent symptoms, and that, when they did tests, they discovered silent diseases in time to treat them. There are cases of people who dreamed about different paths and, through intuition, changed their daily routes and avoided accidents. Or even stories of important decisions, such as not closing a deal, not accepting an invitation, or even ending a relationship based on something they felt in a dream, but which later proved to be the right decisions. In these stories, the pattern repeats itself. At the time of the dream, they did not know they were being guided. They only realized it later, when they looked back and realized the impact of that choice. This type of revelation moves us because it brings to light a hidden truth. You may be being supported at this very moment, and not even know it. You may have made crucial decisions that kept you away from danger, thanks to a simple nocturnal sensation that you didn't even give much importance to. This shows how the invisible acts behind the scenes of our journey with silent but immense precision, and how angels respect our time, our freedom, but do not fail to act when they realize they need to intervene. It is in these moments that spirituality surprises us. Because it is not about spectacles, but about subtleties that transform everything. Angels do not appear to cause astonishment, they appear to awaken, and sometimes, all they need is an image in a dream, a phrase, a face, an unknown place that later reveals itself as real. And the most touching thing of all is to realize that these stories do not belong to enlightened people, nor to special beings. They happen to people like you, like me, people who are living life, running after their commitments, often without time to even breathe, and yet, they are touched by something invisible that refuses to let them go down the wrong path. It is at this point that we understand the true impact of dreams. They are not just disconnected images, they are often attempts to save, to correct course, to protect what can still be protected, and when we hear these real stories, we feel that something inside us recognizes this truth. Because perhaps we have already been through something similar, and only now are we understanding it. Write in the comments, I'm on this journey too. If you've ever had a dream that seemed just strange, but then gained a meaning that changed everything. Because now, we're going to go even deeper into this silent path where angels walk, and when we begin to realize that these dreams carry more than just random images that they are. In fact, little spiritual missions disguised as nighttime stories. Everything takes on a new meaning. The way we wake up, the decisions we make afterward, even the silences during the day begin to take on new meaning. Because what seemed like instinct or coincidence may have been guidance. And when that guidance comes from the angelic realm, it is not only precise, it is deeply personalized, tailored to your moment, your journey, your soul. If this type of connection makes sense to you, take a look at the material I left below. It is practical, direct, and was prepared especially for those who are seeking to understand more deeply what their angel is already trying to show them. The name of the material is Reading Your Birth Angel, and it can help you access clear, a unique guidance, focused on the transformations you are experiencing now, or will face in the future. This content complements what we talked about here, and can save you a lot of time and practice. It's like receiving a clearer map from within your own spirituality, with signs that may have been appearing in your life for some time, but that you hadn't recognized yet. It's here in the description, but I may take it down in the next few days, so if it's useful to you, take advantage of it while it's still available. Now, let's continue with this dive. Because understanding the signs is just the beginning. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Because one of the most sincere, and at the same time, most powerful questions that arise when someone begins to realize that their dreams can carry spiritual meanings is, how will I know if what I dreamed was just a creation of my mind? Or if, in fact, it was a message sent by something greater, by an angel, perhaps? And this question, although it may seem simple, carries enormous weight. Because understanding the origin of a dream can change everything. It can influence decisions, reverse paths, and even save lives. Our mind is creative by nature. All day long, we are bombarded with images, emotions, voices, sounds, ideas. And during sleep, all of this remains alive, inside, spinning, mixing together. Ordinary dreams, therefore, often arise from this mixture. Disconnected scenes, faces that merge, bizarre situations, with no beginning or end. But when we are faced with a spiritual intervention, something changes, and changes very clearly. There is a different sensation, almost as if you had been, for a moment, on another plane of consciousness. And the body perceives this. The soul recognizes it. The first difference is exactly not wake up. Ordinary dreams usually evaporate in minutes. You may even remember flashes, but they will dissolve throughout the day, like ink in water. Dreams with a spiritual presence, on the other hand, remain. It doesn't matter if you have a busy day, if your cell phone won't stop ringing, or if you have 1,000 things to do, the memory of that dream insists on coming back. You might be driving, washing dishes, talking to someone, and suddenly, that shiver comes, that scene, that phrase, as if something wants to remind you, hey, that wasn't by chance. That was for you. And the most curious thing is that these dreams are usually accompanied by very specific emotions. Not those exaggerated emotions of nightmares, but something more subtle and deeper. Some people wake up with an inexplicable peace, as if they had been enveloped by an invisible but extremely real presence, a feeling of having been welcomed, protected, even healed during the night. Other times, the opposite happens. The person wakes up with their heart racing, overcome by an urgency they can't even explain. It's not panic, it's not anxiety, it's an unshakable certainty that something needs to change. And this kind of clarity does not come from logic. It comes from within, and this within usually has a spiritual address. Now, pay attention to theta tales that remain alive in the memory. In spiritual dreams, the elements seem loaded with meaning. They are not random images, they are coded messages. A name spoken, firmly, a light that envelops, a path that opens, or a door that closes, an object that appears more than once. They are symbols, and angels know exactly how to use them. They speak to our soul through these languages that go beyond logical reasoning, and even if you wake up without fully understanding the meaning, you feel in your body, in your spirit, that it was real. These dreams also tend to put you in motion. You wake up and instead of just going about your day, as usual, you feel a nudge. Sometimes it's something small, like calling someone, changing your route, canceling an appointment. Other times, it's a profound shift, a career choice, a breakup, a new spiritual path. The angel's message rarely comes just to comfort you. It comes to align you with something bigger. It nudges you toward a truth you may have been avoiding. And that's where one of the biggest clues lies, that it wasn't just a dream. Because angels don't just appear to relieve, they appear to reveal, revealing a truth that may be hidden and that you need to face. A repetitive pattern of behavior that needs to be broken. A relationship that seems safe but is taking you away from who you really are. An emotional addiction. An escape disguised as a routine. Angels don't judge, but they show you. And when they show you, there's no way to pretend you didn't see it. And don't be fooled into thinking that this type of experience only happens to those who are spiritually evolved. Quite the opposite. Often, the greatest interventions happen to people who are broken, lost, exhausted, because it is in these moments that the heart is most open. It is when the pain breaks, the rigidity, and the soul, even without realizing it, becomes more malleable, more sensitive to what is sacred. And it is in this inner silence, often generated by the exhaustion of the struggle, that the angelic kingdom finds passage. So the more you learn to observe carefully, the more sensitive you become to clues. An inexplicable smell when you wake up, a warmth in your hands, a slight shiver when you remember the image, a tear that runs down your face for no reason. These subtle signs are confirmation that there was, indeed, a visit. And it didn't come by chance. It came to remind you of your worth, your direction, your light, even if you've forgotten all of that. Over time, this perception becomes something natural. You begin to live more connected, more present, more attentive. Your mentality changes. Decisions no longer come from the head alone. They come from feeling, they come from listening within. And that's exactly where you start to recognize the language of angels more clearly, because it's always been there, waiting for you to be silent inside enough to listen. So the next time you wake up with that feeling that something different happened during the night, don't dismiss it, don't rationalize it. Ask yourself, did this dream bring me peace? Did it make me restless for a reason I don't yet understand? Did it remind me of something I was ignoring? Did it push me to change? If the answer is yes, you may have received something far beyond mental images. You may have received a calling. Comment here, that makes sense to me. If you have ever experienced something like this, or if while reading this, some memory came back with force. Because there is more to this journey than you imagine, and the signs keep appearing. ChatGPT said, when we think of angels, our imagination often presents them as grandiose, luminous, and visible figures who suddenly appear to save us in a moment of danger or to guide us with absolute clarity. Films, books, and even some spiritual traditions reinforce this image, full of drama and spectacular revelations. But the truth that few know or truly feel is that angels, in their essence, often prefer to act discreetly, almost invisible. They do not appear to impose their presence, but to walk beside us delicately, respecting something very precious, our free will. This is one of the most profound and impactful truths about angelic work. They are there, all around us, ready to intervene, to protect, to guide, but they do so without ever taking away our power to choose. Because spirituality is not external control. It is a journey of awakening, where each step we take of our own free will strengthens our soul. Angels know that if they appear with all their light, with all their strength, and decide to do it for us, we will be missing out on an essential part of our growth. It is through searching, through internal struggle, through mistakes, and through personal victory that we build a true, solid, and unique faith. This way of acting, then, is a demonstration of immense respect for our evolution. They understand that spiritual awakening is not about receiving ready-made answers, but rather about finding the keys to transformation within ourselves. When you realize that a dream, a feeling, or a sign comes from an angel, it is because you are open to that message. And this openness can only exist if the experience is yours, the result of your own awakening consciousness. It is not a gift that can be given mechanically. It is an invitation to get in touch with something greater, feeling it with your heart, learning to trust the invisible dot. Therefore, angelic intervention is often subtle, almost imperceptible. It can be an inexplicable feeling of protection, an impulse not to follow a path that seemed right, an inner voice that advises us to wait, even without knowing why. This delicacy has a profound impact, because by not revealing themselves completely, angels provoke in us a process of questioning and searching that strengthens our mentality and our ability to perceive the sacred in everyday life. It is in the mystery that they plant the seed of faith and growth. This choice to act in the shadows, so to speak, also helps maintain balance between the physical and spiritual worlds. Material reality, with its demands and challenges, calls us to act with autonomy and responsibility. If angels interfered in everything, so evidently, we would always be dependent on this external help, which could delay the development of our own wisdom and inner strength. They are partners on our journey, not substitutes for our decisions. Furthermore, when help is received discreetly, the bond with the divine becomes much more intimate and true. Faith built from personal experience, that which is born from inner silence, attentive listening, and the courage to face challenges, is a faith that withstands storms. It is a faith that does not need visible miracles to be strengthened, because it knows that the invisible is always present, working behind the scenes in our lives, preparing the ground for transformation to happen when we are ready. That is why angels respect each person's time. They understand that spiritual awakening is not a race, but a journey full of nuances, decisions, and sometimes even necessary falls, so that we can learn. They prefer to wait for you to come to them, to ask for help sincerely, to seek to understand the mystery on your own. And when this connection happens, it is much deeper, because it is the result of a true encounter, an encounter that transforms mentalities, attitudes, and the very way of living. Thinking about angels in this way can be liberating, because it takes away the burden of waiting for grandiose signs and invites you to pay close attention to the small manifestations, those subtleties that seem simple but carry immense impact. That sense of peace that comes out of nowhere, the comfort that comes in the midst of a difficult situation, the sudden insight that changes the direction of an important decision. All of these can be forms of angelic intervention that respect your freedom and strengthen your faith. These moments are, in fact, silent revelations. Invisible behind-the-scenes moments where the greatest transformation of your spiritual journey unfolds. They challenge you to look within, to trust yourself, and to recognize that, often, the power of change lies precisely there, in the ability to choose, even without seeing it, even without fully understanding it, trusting that guidance is coming. With this perspective, you begin to live a more mature, more conscious spiritual experience. You learn to distinguish between a simple dream and a divine calling, and to open yourself to a world that goes beyond the visible and immediate. A world where the decisions you make are influenced by something greater, something that respects your autonomy and, at the same time, desires your growth and well-being. Comment below. I'm on this journey too, if this way of seeing the action of angels touches your heart and makes sense to you, because understanding this balance between the occult and free will can completely transform the way you relate to your spiritual experiences, and this understanding is not the end of the journey, but just a door that opens so that you can move forward with more confidence and clarity towards the next discoveries that are waiting for you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding what to do when you have a dream, that seems to be a message goes beyond simply remembering or writing down the images that appear when you are sleeping. It is a process of internal transformation, a true journey to expand your spiritual sensitivity and strengthen the connection with what is beyond the physical world. The first fundamental step is, of course, to write down the dream as soon as you wake up before the details are lost in the fog of memory. It doesn't have to be a perfect narrative, nor a long text. Just record the emotions, the colors, the sensations that remained, and, mainly, the symbols or events that seemed most striking. This note is like keeping a record of the backstage of your mind, a hidden truth that can gain meaning as you go about your day and open yourself to perceive what is happening around you. After that, the next essential step is to seek discernment through prayer. This means not only asking to understand what that dream means, but also asking your mind and heart to open up to the revelations that come from a higher plane. This is not a mechanical or quick action. It is a moment of surrender, of making room to listen to the subtle voice that often speaks through signs and small details in your daily life. And these signs appear in the most unexpected ways. It could be a conversation that comes out of nowhere, a word you read in a book, a song that plays on the radio at the right time, or even a chance encounter that moves you. All of this is part of the journey of those who want to go beyond the surface and understand that dreams, when they are messages, are like bridges between you and a universe that works in tune with your purpose. Therefore, cultivating this spiritual sensitivity is not an easy task, nor is it something that happens overnight. It is a constant exercise of being attentive, of observing without rushing, and without forcing interpretations. The mindset for this search needs to be flexible and receptive, because the hidden truth that you are trying to uncover often does not come in big explosions, but in small impacts that, when added together, change the course of your decisions. As you train this perception, you will notice that your connection with God, your angels, and spiritual forces becomes clearer and more natural. This connection is an invisible line that, when strengthened, brings peace to the restless mind and clarity to the heart that seeks meaning. It is also essential to understand that this relationship is not one-sided. You are not only receiving messages, but also emitting energy through what you think, feel, and desire. The quality of this energy influences the type of communication you attract. And this is why prayer and meditation play such an important role. They balance your internal frequency, helping you tune in to the frequency of the divine. When you pray for discernment, you are actually creating a channel of dialogue where transformation truly happens, not just a request to know what the dream means, but an invitation for your mind to be guided to decisions that bring growth and alignment with your spiritual journey. Another aspect worth highlighting is patience. Often, we want an immediate answer, a clear and definitive meaning for the dream. But the truth is that this process can unfold in layers over time. Some messages are direct, others are more enigmatic, almost like riddles that need to be deciphered as you live experiences that reflect what was shown. So, it is necessary to leave space for this understanding to happen at the right pace, without pressure, allowing the signs to reveal themselves naturally, and for your intuition to become sharper. In the midst of all this, be careful not to confuse ordinary dreams, which are the result of mental fatigue, stress, or simply the experiences of the day, with dreams that carry a deeper spiritual dimension. The difference lies in the impact that the dream has on you and how much it remains alive in your mind and heart. provoking reflections and a feeling that something important needs to be understood. This distinction is part of your mind's exercise to separate what is just the result of normal brain activity from what may be a true message, guidance that comes from a greater source. And speaking of discernment, don't underestimate the role of intuition. Often, when you're paying attention, that feeling of this makes sense, or a chill down your spine when you recall a scene from your dream, is your inner guide indicating that there's a clue there to follow. Intuition is like an antenna that picks up frequencies that the rational mind doesn't yet fully understand, but that your spirit recognizes. So, allow yourself to trust this instinct, even when logic tries to question it. This is part of the transformative impact that these dreams can have. They stir something deep inside you, stimulating decisions that can change your trajectory. Furthermore, it is important to remember that this process of interpreting and acting on a dream message has both a practical and a subtle side. On the practical side, you may begin to notice small changes in your routine, habits, or relationships as a result of the guidance provided by the dream. On the subtle side, these changes occur in your energy field, in your emotions, and in your thoughts that begin to align with a greater purpose. When these two dimensions work together, you begin to notice a real impact on your life. Transformation that is not limited to desires or plans, but that actually happens deep within the core of who you are. This journey of spiritual awakening through dreams also brings to light a greater understanding of the meaning of our everyday experiences. You begin to see that nothing is by chance, that there is always an intelligence guiding your steps, even when everything seems confusing or meaningless. And this realization opens the door to a kind of game-changing confidence, the confidence that even in moments of doubt or difficulty, there is a greater purpose working behind the scenes in your life, revealing hidden truths that only those who are attentive can perceive. When you cultivate this attitude of openness and sensitivity, it becomes easier to recognize the signs that your angels or spiritual guides leave for you throughout the day. They can be subtle, like a look from someone who arrives at the right moment, or more explicit, like an unexpected message that touches your heart deeply. The important thing is to remain attentive and humble enough to accept these interventions, knowing that they are part of the process of growth and alignment with what really matters. In the midst of all this, spiritual discipline is a component that is often overlooked but is crucial for those who want to deepen this connection. Daily prayer, meditation, and moments of silence to listen to the inner voice are practices that strengthen the mind and spirit, creating a favorable internal environment so that the messages of dreams can be received with clarity and understanding. Without this foundation, the tendency is for interpretations to be lost, for doubts to take over, and for the impact of these experiences to be diluted in the whirlwind of everyday life. Now, think of your own life as fertile ground that can be cultivated with this wisdom and sensitivity. With each dream you write down, with each prayer you say, asking for discernment, you are planting seeds that, with care and patience, will blossom into more conscious decisions and a greater alignment with the purpose of your existence. And this harvest is not just personal, it reverberates in your relationships, your attitudes, and your way of seeing the world. I want you to pause now and think, when was the last time you had a significant dream? How did you deal with it? Was it just a passing thought, or did you feel that there was something bigger there, something that needed to be recorded, meditated on, and understood? This reflection is an invitation for you to place yourself at the center of your own story, to take the lead in your transformation. Recognizing that dreams are more than images, they are fragments of a universal language that speaks directly to your spirit. I invite you to share a word or phrase in the comments that represents this journey of discovery and connection for you. Something like awakening or inner search. It's a way for us to build this space for exchange together, where each message, each revelation, has its place and can help other people who are also on this journey. It's curious how, in the midst of our fast-paced routine, we often ask for signs, a call, guidance, a light in the midst of chaos, but we end up missing the most subtle message that has ever come to us, without even realizing it. The dream you had, that experience that seemed to carry a special meaning, could very well be one of those signs that are ignored. And the worst part is that this happens not because you don't want to listen, but simply because the habit of paying attention to the details of your spiritual life is not fully developed. Sometimes, we forget not only the message itself, but the very existence of that dream that could have been a true map for an important decision, or a new perspective on your journey. It is a silent warning that needs to be heard. Your spiritual consciousness may be dormant, and this creates a kind of invisible filter that blocks the essential information that your angels or guides are trying to send you. Asking for signs and not being open to recognizing them is like being in the middle of a conversation and staring at your cell phone. You want to listen, but in practice, you are disconnected. This disconnection has a profound impact, because it prevents you from perceiving the revelations that appear in your daily life, in your dreams, in your encounters, and even in your seemingly routine choices. And it is precisely in these small details that the hidden truth is revealed, in that which seems irrelevant, but which, in reality, carries a decisive weight for your growth. The human mind has an incredible capacity for distraction, and the modern routine with its avalanche of information, commitments and decisions creates fertile ground for this spiritual forgetfulness to happen without you even realizing it. However, it is precisely this awareness that must be awakened. It is not about living in a constant state of alert or anxiety, but about cultivating a mentality of presence and full attention, where signals and messages can be received clearly. This requires daily practice, a transformation in the way you see your experiences, giving value to the small touches that arrive through your subconscious and, often, from the spiritual plane. When you ignore a dream that seemed important, you are, in practice, ignoring a part of your own intuition, an inner voice that tries to guide you towards decisions that are more aligned with your purpose. This neglect can have a cascading effect, impacting not only your individual path, but also your relationships and your emotional well-being. After all, each message that reaches you plays a strategic role behind the scenes in your life, paving the way for you to make wiser and more conscious choices. Therefore, recognizing this pattern of inattention is the first step to reversing this situation and making room for a deeper and truer connection. It is interesting to note how this disconnection is not a punishment, but rather a kind of invitation for you to awaken to your spirituality in a more vibrant way. It is as if the angels, or higher powers, are always present, offering a gentle touch to make you pay attention again, to tune your gaze and your heart to what really matters. However, if your mind is full of noise, if the rhythm of the day does not allow for breaks, the messages end up getting lost, and you do not even realize that you are, little by little, moving away from that source of guidance that has always been available. This phenomenon also highlights the importance of constant asking yourself, am I really open to receiving these messages? Or have I allowed myself to perceive what is beyond the obvious? Are attitudes that help to fine-tune your spiritual radar. Often, what is missing is not the message, but the willingness to connect with it. This awakening of spiritual consciousness does not happen by chance. It is a daily construction, a decision you make to allow yourself to be present, to delve into the deepest layers of your mind and heart. As you become more aware of this dynamic, you begin to notice a powerful effect. The impact of your choices increases. The clarity of your decisions becomes more evident, and you feel a true change in your mindset. The feeling of following the scenes of your own life more closely creates a fertile field for the transformations you desire. And it is precisely there that one of the great hidden truths of this process lies. The message you thought you had lost never left your path. It was there, waiting for you to open your eyes and see it, for you to wake up from the torpor of distraction and realize that your angel was always by your side, trying to communicate. That is why, when we look back, we often realize how certain opportunities went unnoticed, simply because we were not paying attention to what was being signaled. The power of these moments is enormous, as they can change the direction of your life, generate profound insights, and reveal aspects of your journey that until then were hidden beneath the surface of consciousness. And what makes this experience so fascinating is that awakening does not happen with grand gestures, but with small movements of attention, with seemingly simple decisions that, when made consciously, trigger a chain of transformative effects. Therefore, it is vital to understand that your connection with the spiritual plane is a two-way street, a continuous exchange that only happens when you are willing to listen and, at the same time, see with renewed eyes what is happening around you. This willingness is an investment that generates immediate and lasting returns, because it puts you in direct contact with the flow of life, with the source of inspiration that guides the decisions that are most aligned with who you really are. And there is nothing more powerful than living this harmony, feeling the real impact of the messages that reach you, even if they come disguised as dreams, symbols, or small signs of everyday life. Ultimately, this journey is about awakening to a new mindset, a life stance that transforms the way you relate to yourself and the world. It is a silent revolution that happens within you, but that reverberates in all areas of your existence. When you begin to recognize that ignoring your angel, even without realizing it, is, in fact, closing the door to possibilities for growth and transformation. Space opens up for a greater awareness, an understanding that goes beyond the obvious and dives into the depths of your being. The subtlety of this experience is what makes it so challenging and yet so fascinating, because the closer you get to this awareness, the more you realize that the answers you seek are not out there, in grand signs or spectacular events, but right here, inside, in your heart, in the way you choose to see the world, interpret your dreams, and act on the opportunities that arise. And it is precisely this interconnection that creates the true and lasting impact on your life, the solid foundation for decisions that reflect a genuine alignment with your purpose. So, as you walk through this process, remember that this perception is a construction that depends on your commitment to yourself. It is an invitation for you to be more present, more awake, and to allow spiritual wisdom to manifest itself in your routine, guiding each step, even those that seem simple or routine. And it is in this detail, in this constant choice, that lies the strength to transform your story, bringing to light a renewed mentality and a watchful eye for the hidden truths that await discovery. Comment below. This makes sense to me. I want to know how this reflection resonates with you, because it is in this exchange that the journey is strengthened and expanded. Your angel is trying to protect you. Are you listening? It's easy to forget that even in the quietest nights, there is a presence that works tirelessly to guide us, to warn us, to love us. It's no coincidence that our dreams become living scenes, where symbols, sensations, and messages intertwine in a language that goes far beyond our everyday logic. This subtle connection between heaven and earth, this invisible bridge, is the purest form of angelic love, a care that does not impose but invites, that does not force but inspires. Think about the transformation that can happen in your life if you learn to listen to these voices that come from above, even when they seem confusing or disconnected. It's not just about deciphering strange images, but about making room for a mindset that recognizes the hidden truth behind the signs that your soul already perceives, even if your mind still resists. It's an invitation to an internal journey, so that the decisions you make in your daily life are aligned not only with what you see, but with what your spirit intuits, with the profound impact that these messages have on your evolution. What many people don't know is that this process is full of behind-the-scenes details that we rarely notice, emotions that explode in our dreams, ancestral fears that return to be healed, unexpected reunions with forgotten parts of ourselves. It is a true spiritual laboratory, where your growth is fostered night after night. If you start to look at these moments more closely, you will realize that every detail has a reason, a purpose that goes far beyond what the surface shows. This revelation can change the course of your story. It can open doors to paths you never imagined existed. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because the relationship between dreams and angels is not only mystical, but practical, and directly reflects on the way you face daily challenges. Angels, acting out of love, want to help you make decisions that respect your time, your space, and your truth. They bring subtle warnings so that you don't fall into traps, so that you avoid paths that lead to unnecessary suffering. But, for this to happen, it is essential that you are willing to see with different eyes, listen with different ears, and feel with different intensity. This attention requires emotional and mental discipline, a training and perception that can be developed with small changes in your routine, a close look at your dreams, a journal where you write down what you remember, even if it seems meaningless, a moment of silence before going to sleep to align your intentions and open your heart to receive these messages. This practice transforms the way you relate to your own mind, breaking old patterns and bringing clarity to your intentions. After all, the hidden truth that the angels want to reveal can only flourish in fertile ground, where the willingness for transformation is present. Many people have already gone through this experience and know that. At first, doubt may seem greater than certainty, which is completely natural. The mind tends to seek logical explanations, to rationalize what it does not understand. But dreams and angelic signs operate in a different dimension, where language is symbolic and full of nuances. It is like receiving a coded message, where each symbol carries a meaning that can be revealed little by little as your journey progresses. This revelation is a process of self-knowledge that has the power to unlock new ways of seeing the world and relating to yourself and others. The impact this has on your life can be surprising. You may start to notice coincidences that previously seemed random, signs that previously went unnoticed, people who appear at just the right time. All of this is part of a larger orchestra, where your angel acts as the conductor, gently guiding each note so that your personal melody is harmonious and full of meaning. Your responsibility is simple but profound: to be present, open, and attentive to these moments. This attunement creates a kind of silent dialogue between you and the divine, a conversation that goes far beyond words, full of sensations and insights that touch the soul. And when you realize that this communication exists, that your dreams are not just fleeting images, but true maps that show you the way, life takes on a new color. Fear loses its strength and love gains space, because knowing that there is someone taking care of you, even when you can't see it, is a powerful foundation for personal transformation. This feeling is not abstract. It can change your mindset, influence your decisions, and give new meaning to your existence. It's not about depending on external forces, but about recognizing that you are not alone on this journey, that there is a love that transcends time and space, ready to protect you. So, the thought I leave you with is this: how many times have you had that feeling that something was trying to warn you? How many times has a dream awakened you to a truth that you needed to hear? It is in this connection that the strength of your angel resides. It is there that care is revealed in its purest and most generous form. By learning to listen, you are taking a giant step towards changing not only your immediate reality, but also opening yourself up to a journey of growth that can transform your life forever. The bridge between heaven and earth is there, accessible and real. All you have to do is reach out and cross it. Comment: I'm on this journey too. If you've made it this far, it's because this message really touched something inside you, and that's already a sign that this connection is growing stronger. If it makes sense to you, a simple way to continue cultivating this path is to subscribe to the channel. Here, what matters is sharing content that truly brings value, that helps open doors and illuminate this silent dialogue between you and what comes from above. Leave a like if this video resonated in some way, because that shows that we're on this journey together, creating this exchange that makes all the difference. And if you want to continue diving deeper, there's a video here on the side that complements exactly this subject. Click and follow me there, which has much more to reveal. Comment, "I'm with you until the end," so I know that this exchange reached you in its entirety.